What is the strangest mystery that is still unsolved? An unknown group of people broke into an FBI building, and no one has found out who they are. But the best part of the story is, they did it by leaving a sticky note that said, "Do not lock the door tonight," and it worked. Edit. To everyone asking how they left the note, they just stuck the note to the front door. Probably should have specified. Imagine being the guy who left it unlocked. Who was Perseus? From 1943 to 1946, the Soviet Union had a high-level spy in the Manhattan Project, codenamed Perseus. This spy was a scientist at the White Sands missile testing site in NM, and the main research facilities in Los Alamos. Perseus saw pretty much the entire project start to finish, giving the Russians everything they needed to get to work on their own bomb. The fact that they were able to do so within 4 years of the end of World War II, when their nation was still devastated, is proof positive that Perseus helped a great deal. And to top it all off, Perseus was never caught or positively identified. Greater than and to top it all off, Perseus was never caught or positively identified, that we know of. I don't think the US government would be keen to share the name of the person that sold out all their advancements to Russia. Probably Oppenheimer himself, because he realized that the type of absolute power nukes bestowed upon a person, country, it will corrupt them absolutely as well if there was no equal-footed adversary. Asha degree. Girl leaves her house in the middle of the night during a storm and disappeared. The only problem is that she was terrified of thunder and lightning and had no motive for leaving, because her home life was fine. Then her clothes and backpack were found a year later in an abandoned construction site. Is this the girl wearing all white that they think is buried in a parking lot? No. She ran away during the early hours of the morning during a massive storm. She was spotted on this side of the highway but ran into the woods when anyone stopped. She had apparently packed a bag with some clothes and books, which was found buried miles away from her home. She seems to have spent some time in an old shed, evidenced by candy wrappers. Fascinating case, and one that keeps me up at night. Why would drive a little girl to take off from a loving home into the night in the wind and rain in February? Was she meeting someone? Was she groomed? Unfortunately, the case did not generate much popular interest at the time. This case is so strange to me. Did you see the photo of the little girl they released that was found with the candy wrappers? They think she had it in her backpack but don't know why. So many strange details to that case. Never heard of this. The whereabouts of the last Gestapo chief, Heinrich Müller. The last verified sighting of him was in Berlin roughly 3 days before it fell. He had stated he knew full well what the Russians did to prisoners and he had no intentions of being captured. As chief of the Gestapo, he more than likely had access to foreign documents as well as ways to replicate them. Both the CIA and the KGB spent time looking for him, but no trace has ever been found. South America. Probably. That was the Nazi failsafe. Disappear and blend into the country. They think they found a chain of forts in Venezuela used by Nazi officials. Fun fact. That's where many Confederates went after losing the war. Fled to Brazil, where they had their own town. Nice try, Netflix. You have to find interesting unsolved mysteries yourself. The suicide of Ellen Greenberg, 27 stab wounds in different areas of the body. Honestly, that's unreal. I'm glad the parents fought it. Looks like the case is going to trial next year. I hope the medical examiner doesn't die of suicide before he has to testify why he changed the cause of death at the insistence of the police department. That one time when the PM of Australia went to the beach. It even coined the term, "do the Harold Holt," when you leave suddenly or without letting anyone know. Is this the one who disappeared while swimming, so you guys named a swimming pool after him? In true Aussie fashion, yes. Which of the 3 astronauts aboard Apollo 10 was responsible for the floating turd? Who pooped the bunk? I think I read somewhere that it turned out to be a chocolate bar. I'll try to find it. Edit. Cannot find it? It very well may have been just a comment someone made that was never backed up. I can't say that Choco Bar is accurate, as the transcripts agree that it was a turd. Alas, waste management in space is a pain in the ass. The Boötes void is a region of outer space that contains no galaxies or stars, and we don't know why. According to Wikipedia, there are 60 known galaxies where there should be around 2,000. Not quite zero, but interesting either way. Those are the galaxies that won. 2,000 galaxies enter, 60 galaxies leave. Edit, a battle of galactic proportions. Laughing face. That guy who ran away from the airport hopped the fence and was never seen again. The guy's motive for shooting up all those people in Vegas. This one has bothered me for quite some time as well. The guy had no criminal record, no history of mental illness, no known religious or political affiliations, was financially well off, and no known relationship issues. Very strange indeed. I think there was some weird shit with his family though. No, his dad was an FBI wanted criminal who basically abandoned him, and one of his brothers got caught with child porn and had booby-trapped his house with explosives. I think it's safe to say he had relationship issues within his family. Some strange shit going on there. The shooter himself had child porn on his computer. Maybe hatred at society. Self-hate. The Amish school shooter was also a secret pedophile. As someone with schizophrenia, I absolutely hate how for every mass shooter or serial killer the media tries to portray them as having serious mental health issues. Only 10% of violent crimes are committed by someone with a mental health issue. Yet everybody feels like there had to be a reason someone would willing do that. There is no reason other than that guy simply being evil and doing it because he felt like it. The same goes for him as it does for most mass shooters and serial killers. How TF Jesus found people in the Middle East named Mark, Matthew, Luke, Adi and John. I know this is a joke, but the names are just romanizations. Jesus' name was Isa. That's the Arabic version of the word. Jesus was from an Aramaic-speaking family and should have been Yeshua, transliterated into Latin script, which is also the name from which Joshua is derived. Malaysian Flight 370. The Konkala Pass in Ladakh. This region lies in the disputed border of India and China, and is truly the most inaccessible places in the world. In 1962, the armies of both the countries were engaged in a severe conflict. After this, both China and India entered into an agreement according to which none will be allowed to patrol the region, but can keep an eye on it from a distance. After this, a popular belief floated that the Konkala Pass in Ladakh is a hideous base of UFOs. The area has forever remained in no man's land due to its territorial limits, and is the reason why the UFOs have chosen it as their operational base. Reportedly, many have seen these UFOs, and both the Indian and Chinese governments are aware of these developments. In 2006, Google Maps 2 baffled the world with some images that look like military facilities. But till date the whole issue remains mysterious and unexplainable. I just did some Googling and seems China is pulling troops out of there today. I looked on Google Earth and it seems super remote. Is it the mountains that make it so inaccessible? Oh god, they're pulling troops out to let the aliens come. 2020 is about to get worse. I feel like, at this point, aliens could only make 2020 better. Oh god, here I go on another 2-hour binge of reading every comment in the thread. The identity of and what happened to D.B. Cooper. A man on a plane called himself D.B. Cooper and claimed to have a bomb-in-use suitcase. He took the flight crew hostage, and when he got the money he asked for, he had the flight crew start flying again. Eventually he jumped out of the plane with a couple of parachutes and the money. No one knows where he went or if he even survived. He went by Dan, not DB. For the record, not that I know him or am hi monsieur, I mean come on. So you survived, huh? The say WHAAAAAA? Why people keep pouring money into a hole in the ground on Oak Island, if you ask me, greater than tilde less than. The show is the treasure. They rake in that sweet advertising money while not actually doing much more than recap past events and share about 15 minutes of new content. The treasure is the friends we made along the way. My husband watches this. I've suggested making it a drinking game. Every time one of the brothers says that's significant, you take a shot. The Tamam Shud case, also known as the mystery of the Somerton Man, is an unsolved case of an unidentified man found dead at 6:30 a.m. the 1st of December 1948, on the Somerton Park beach, just south of Adelaide, South Australia. The case is named after the Persian phrase Tamam Shud, meaning ended or finished, which was printed on a scrap of paper found months later in the fob pocket of the man's trousers. The scrap had been torn from the final page of a copy of Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Authored by 12th century poet Omar Khayyam, Monsieur Tamam was misspelled as Taman in many early reports, and this error has often been repeated, leading to confusion about the name in the media. Def Cold War spy shit. No doubt. It was around the time of nuclear testing in South Australia. All the stuff they found on him and at the train station being untraceable, having no identification tags. The book was probably part of cipher. They may exhume him soon. The main dude at Adelaide Uni studying the case married into the family suspected of being associated with the man. It's a weird world. In 1977 we received a radio signal from outer space that lasted about 72 seconds. To this day, we still do not know where it originated from, Monsieur. The wow signal. No, what's crazy is that the signal lasted 72 seconds because we only had the recording capabilities for 72 seconds. It went on longer. 72 seconds. Not great, not terrible. That's what she said. Death of Ray Rivera. Found dead in a meeting room in a hotel. Fell through the roof. The last call he received was from his office, but the company placed all employees under a gag order so no one can talk to police. I too watched the new Unsolved Mysteries lol. No, but seriously, this case is horrible and fascinating and I want answers for his poor wife and family. WTF happened? What about his super sketchy, one of his best friends that he worked with not saying a word? That note he left. It's a crazy story and I have so many questions. I was so addicted to that show. That story was so strange. I think he was dragged to the edge and thrown off. His shoes had scuff marks on them, Monsieur, but then his phone and glasses were not damaged. I felt so sorry for the son of the hairdresser who was killed. I think her husband did it. He locked the son out of the house because he didn't like them. He was a kid. Then he starts going into detail about his alibi. He even kept receipts for where he was that day. Makes me think he hired a hitman. I thought the same thing about the hairdresser episode. That poor kid. What kind of asshole marries someone and then just turns their back on that person's child in a time of crisis? Fifth Pistol was a total shit. He was a child. And to say that there was no way he'd let Pistol have his mother's remains. That really rubbed me the wrong way. It's his mom, you dickhead, and he keeps the remains at the bottom of his closet to top it up. Where the fuck are all the 10mm sockets going into hiding? Possibly an underground city just for them? Some company should make a mechanic's tool set that's just like a dozen 10mm sockets. The 1987 Arkansas murders of Don Henry and Kevin Ives. And every single possible witness surrounding the Monsieur, like Keith McCaskill, who claimed to be on the tracks that night. He talked to the special prosecutor about what he saw, then realized the prosecutor was dirty. After coming forth as a witness, he began saying goodbye to his loved ones and planned his own funeral arrangements. Shortly after, he was stabbed 113 times. That's like 113 too many. I myself am allergic to knives. From my understanding, that all was solved to the extent that we know what happened. corrupt officials as high as the governor of Arkansas at the time were involved in a drug and gun running scandal and killed the kids who witnessed a drop along with other witnesses. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.